Dusty with Blazing High Performance here. We got another how-to for you. We've got a G8 only fuel pump access cover for G8. They do make them for SS now. It's a little bit different process, but we just kind of want to give you a general idea of what it takes to tackle one of these. So first step, you kind of find a good spot. You can feel in the area of the fuel pump where it wants to be. Once you get it there, just make a mark like so. We already kind of got started on it, so we decided to do a little how-to. I use a die grinder to get my purchase point because it's not something, the drill bit sometimes will hang and get on into the tank. You don't want that. There's wires under here. Your fuel pump outlet hose goes kind of like this, so it's kind of over in this area. So you really kind of want to be in the 4 to 5 o'clock area with where you start, and then we just use the die grinder here and just get a good start like so. And once you get your purchase point, my tool of choice is a nibbler, whether it's Milwaukee or you can get actually a pretty decent one if you got air from Harbor Freight. But to me, this is the best way. It keeps anything penetrating into the tank area. You can see the way the nibbler works. It just takes the surface metal off. It doesn't get down in there. There's a wiring. There's a piece of what am I trying to say? Loom. Yeah, yeah, it's really right close here, too. So everything's really close. Even if you use a cutoff wheel, you do run the risk. But you know, just whatever tool you have, just be sure to be careful with it. This part can be a little tricky with this tool because of the bump in it, but you can work your way past it. So you can see how critical it is to stay away from any tools that may. This is very, very close right here. So if you had anything that cut down in there, you do run the risk of getting into that.
Yeah, those wires are right on it. You can't go down very deep.
Right, and I may have bent this down a little bit with pressure. So we kind of go around and straighten it all up. I like to dolly the edge back up pretty flush, take care of the sharp edges. That way you just get a nice, better finished product. So we'll do that now. So one of the things we should mention too is you should have your fuel level should be really low, like an 1/8. Really, if the low fuel light's on, that's good, because this fuel pump access is lower than the fuel level if you're full. So you'll get a geyser of fuel. It won't stop till it gets down. Of course, it's saddle tank style. So if you have a half a tank, that could mean that this side's full and that side's empty because it's transferred all the fuel over from that side. So make sure your fuel's low. If it's not low, you can pump it out. There's ways that we do that we can discuss in a later video. But one of the other things to mention, this is just a push button, you pull that off, but this outlet line we've had this pump out. This was the first 450 in-tank pump that we ever did, so this was kind of an experiment. There's some things we've improved on quite a bit since then. This was probably 4 years ago or so, but sometimes this line, it pulls off. If you're familiar with the vapor line at the front on the firewall for your emissions, it pulls out in the same way. There's a tab on each side. You push it down, you grab both tabs, and you pull up on it. Sometimes it won't work. There's nothing you can do to get this off without destroying the connector. If that happens, Dorman makes a 90-degree 3/8 fuel line repair kit that has the connector on it, and you heat it up, you put a barb in it, barb fitting, and you can connect it back to the factory line. So hold your breath, but we've had this one off before, so maybe it'll behave for us. So you kind of push both sides in and try to pull up.
Yeah, we see people having a problem with these on the internet, or a lot.
It's not really behaving. There it goes.
Nice. I saw it move.
So the issue with this car is that it's not holding pressure. The way we connected the outlet on the 450 pump to the factory basket was not as good as they are now. So you want to bleed your fuel pressure off at the Schrader valve before you do this, or again it'll spray fuel. It didn't spray fuel, which is a problem, like it should. Right? So
Yeah, it should maintain some pressure even after the key is off. Tuck everything in there.
that's that. The last time when we did this pump, we were also doing a rear end, some cradle bushing, some stuff like that. So we dropped the tank out the bottom because we had everything out. Obviously this is a much more efficient way of doing that. It's a little, so I always get a little nervous using a steel screwdriver and hitting it with a hammer, which works, it's fine, just there's fuel vapors. It's a little, I don't know, may not matter. I haven't blown up yet, and I've done it that way for years. But I do have this lock ring tool, which you can use a manual breaker bar on it. I'm going to use this
I see how it works.
1/2-inch drive in number 2 mode, so that it gives it some small little hammers. I'm actually going to put it on 1.
Yeah, that thing's a beast.
It'll give it some small little hammers instead of torquing the whole top of the tank, which you kind of have to do when you do it with the breaker bar. But just like that.
That worked.
You don't want to kill it. Like, it's only some little fingers on here. Not a lot of space.
Pretty good for the first time using it, huh?
I've used it before.
Oh, okay.
I tried it with the impact.
Oh, you just broke it with a regular
I did it with a
wrench.
breaker bar, and I felt like I was over torquing the top.
That's
of the
probably a
tank.
good idea, because like you said, the little hammers sort of
Just a
break
little-
everything free.
Little wraps.
Yep.
What we'll do is put some plastic out over here so that when we transfer the pump out, there's gonna be fuel.
No matter how low it is, it feels
Yeah.
like it's always a bunch of fuel
The
in there.
basket's gonna have fuel in it, so we'll get that squared away and show you how we get everything out and disconnected from the basket.
Here's the repair that he uses if you have to replace that. This is the one we use, 800-059. It's a Dorman quick disconnect, and as you can see, it's the same exact fitting as the pump, and then you're able to fit that on the pump housing and use this adapter to connect it to your factory line. He's getting everything set up here with the plastic so we don't drop gas, all in the back of the car.
You'll have the jet siphon line for the crossover feed is going to be on this side, and then you've got the float that you have to kind of manage. So if you take the back side out first, like that, you may not can see it from that side. But on this side is the jet siphon hose down here. So you squeeze both sides of that. It usually gives no problems. It'll come off. Just kind of leave it where you can get to it again.
And it did good. I guess it stays pretty much soaked in fuel.
Yeah.
And this shows you how much gas is in these tanks. This car is got the low fuel light on right now, and you can see gas that high up in the tank.
So then you're gonna fish the float out and transfer it through a drain pan because there's gonna be fuel in your bucket.
So now
we'll take it apart.
We'll take it apart, and then we'll get back with you when it's time to put it back together.
Going back together with the new pump, we're just gonna put the crossover feed line in, kind of feed the float in. Slide it in there.
Lock that in easy.
Yep.
You'll probably be using a
Screwdriver and a hammer.
Yeah.
Be careful.
But that saves us a good amount of time doing it like that. Plugs back in. That you hopefully got off without damaging. Plugs right in as well.
Make sure it's on there good because you got a lot of fuel pressure behind that. So back to the original reason for the video, fuel pump ring. And I like to just make it look nice, so I'll clock it how you want the G8 only logo to end up. And then that's where you'll run the self-tapper in.
Something with these is to make sure that you have the right length self-tappers. As you see, there's wiring and a fuel tank right underneath this, so the
and
ones
Joe
that
does a good job. The ones that come with the kit are really pretty nice.
Nice.
Let me find them.
All right.
So just make sure you keep it lined up like you had it. And you don't want to overdo it so they strip out.
Going across like that positions the ring, so after you get two in, it shouldn't want to move as much as it did the first one or two.
We'll go back and tighten them by hand so we don't strip them out.
Exactly, yeah, makes sense.
Last thing is the lid, which is self-explanatory. This is not like a tech thing, like, oh, you gotta put the lid on and put some screws in it.
Yeah, if you've made it this far, you can probably do this section. So yeah, tighten those up, and we did already check the pump. It's good to go, so that's pretty awesome. And you're done at this point, besides popping in the rear seats.
You're done.
Which, if that is part of the thing you're gonna say we missed, you pop it up in the front. There's two holders. There's one there, and there's one here.
Just make sure your seatbelt receivers are up through the back of the seat.
And pull up hard on the front right here. It'll pop it free, do it on both sides, and the seat will come right out. So thanks again, guys. Until next time.